Hey friends, I am so excited to be back. We're talking about astrology for the week of April 1st. Today's April Fool's Day, although I don't have a good April Fool's joke for you, so we're just gonna run right past that. I'm Veronica, and I come on here once a week on Instagram and Facebook, and I share with you what's going on up there in the cosmos and how the planets are impacting our energy and how we can really harness the planets and their energy to take some action and make some magic happening in our own lives. So I am excited because we are done with Mercury retrograde, thank God. Um, Now, there is something in astrology called a shadow period. So there's a period of time before the retrograde and after the retrograde where the retrograde period, it's not black and white, it's kind of gray. But in general, even if you come up against a couple of kerfuffles this week, we are out of the major dense retrograde period. So it should get easier and easier as time goes on. Now, mind you that Mercury went retrograde in Pisces, and we still have 3 planets in Pisces. So tomorrow is actually an interesting day because tomorrow Mercury and Neptune come together for the third and final time in 2019. So you might remember me talking about this last week. Mercury and Neptune came together while Mercury was retrograde, and that created a sense of fogginess, a sense of haziness, a sense of lack of mental sharpness. Neptune rules the subconscious and Mercury rules the mind and our communication. So it's really interesting if you notice the messages that come up this week. I said this last week, but it's pertinent again. So Neptune and Mercury came together on March 24th. They also came together back on February 19th. Now on February 19th, Mercury was moving direct, right? It was moving in forward. Then last week on the 24th, it was moving in reverse, retrograde. And now it is moving forward once again, and it's revisiting Neptune for this third and final time of the year. That is happening tomorrow on Tuesday, April 2nd. So I want you to just pay attention to the stuff that's coming up, pay attention to the messages that you're getting, pay attention to stuff that's coming to you from different places. Like if you hear someone recommend the same class, three different people recommend the same class, or 3 people recommend the same TV show to you, really take that into consideration and just be like, oh, there's something here for me. Those are the kind of things that Pisces tunes into, because Pisces is really intuitive. And Pisces in general, if you know Piscean people, generally Piscean people, regardless of their personality, there's some aspect of them that is tuned into the ether, tuned into the other realms, tuned into their own subconscious. Even if they don't seem like the kinds of people that are woo-woo, there's something that they're tuned into. So I happen to know a lot of Pisces people who are completely like business oriented, get down to brass tacks kind of people, but then you'll interestingly hear them talk about how they have really potent dreams, or how spirits have come to them in their dreams and things like that. So no matter what, if you know a Pisces person, they are connected in some way to another realm, to another consciousness, another layer of consciousness rather. So pay attention to the messages from your subconscious. Pay attention to the messages coming to you from the universal consciousness, from your friends and family and whoever's around you. That's tomorrow. And then we'll keep on chugging along with Mercury and we'll eventually out of this shadow period in the next couple weeks. So that was the main thing I wanted to share with you about the beginning of this week. If you're feeling a little hazy and foggy like you were last week, even though the sun is in Aries and we feel like we should be charging ahead, that makes sense. We still have 3 planets in Pisces. Venus is there, Mercury is there, Neptune is there. With the Neptune and Mercury conjunction, it makes sense that the mental faculties might not be as sharp as we would like them to be. But Mars is in Gemini. And so Mars in Gemini is really talkative. And Mars in Gemini really likes to be the life of the party and have some fun, and maybe express himself a little bit without thinking first. So there's a little bit of that going on, although Mars in Gemini is not talking to a lot of the other planets this week. He does talk to the moon a bit, but that is to be expected. The moon moves very quickly. So I'm not too worried about that. And it's not necessarily having a profound impact on our communication skills. I think we're going to be feeling the Mercury and the Neptune more so in the beginning of the week. But as these things progress, as we move out of Pisces season, the haze and the fogginess will get less and less and less. So I want to think about the beginning of this week. It's a little foggy. Even Wednesday, we have almost the whole day is a moon void of course, which basically means, I like to think of it as the moon being out of cell service. Imagine that you were on a backcountry road and your cell phone just doesn't have service. That is how the moon is feeling on those days when the moon is void of course. And so we do a long void of course moon on Wednesday. So even Wednesday is going to be a little sleepy. Now, Wednesday night, the moon moves into Aries. So once the moon moves out of that Pisces realm with those 3 planets sleeping away, dreaming, meditating, getting those subconscious hits, we're going to move into a little bit more of an Aries vibe. So the big lead up of this week and the big duality of this week, Mars in Gemini loves duality. The big duality of this week is the first half of the week is super sleepy, hazy, foggy, unsure. The second half of the week is like, oh my God, this is it. This is like the big Aries new moon. It is the unofficial start of the astrological new year for us in astrology. The first new moon in Aries is really like that big welcoming in of spring. It's the big welcoming in of Aries season. So even if you're an Aries like me and you had your birthday last week, you know, the new moon in Aries is still a fresh start. It's still really, really important. And it's important for all of us. Now, Aries energy is all about the I. What am I going to do for me? It's about, it's selfish in the most positive sense. You know, Aries really want to move themselves forward and inspire others by doing it themselves. They are natural born leaders. So with this new moon in Aries on Friday, it's going to be at 4:50 a.m. Eastern time on Friday, and it's going to square Saturn. And that says to me that while we might want to put the pedal to the metal and run and just speed forward, Saturn is saying, do it with diligence, do it with discipline, do it with responsibility, you know, be patient and plug in for the hard work. Because Saturn doesn't really do things with a sense of reckless abandon, but Aries does. So it's always interesting, the Aries-Capricorn dynamic. There is, whenever you have something, Aries and Capricorn, they square because they're both cardinal signs, right? And they're both leaders. And so I heard an astrologer say this once, and I really love this. I love this description of a Capricorn and an Aries being together, which is funny because my friend Veronica Grant is a Capricorn and I'm an Aries, and we get on wonderfully. But her image of this astrologer's image of a Capricorn and Aries was, I'm boss. No, I'm boss. No, I'm the boss. No, I'm the boss. And I really thought that was so applicable because Aries and Capricorn are both are leaders of the zodiac, along with Libra and Cancer, but in a very different styles. Aries is like, you know, the single-minded entrepreneur who goes for it all. They're going to do it all themselves. Capricorn is the CEO, you know, he's running the whole company. They just have different energies about them. They just have really different energies about them. And so they're always going to square off. They're always going to have that conflict. But here's the thing, squares and conflict and those are always the things that really make life interesting. They're the things that teach us lessons. They're the things that make stuff happen. You know, without any conflicts, there would be no reason to grow. There'd be no catalyst to move forward. So I don't think that this new moon's in Aries squaring Saturn is a bad thing at all. I think it's actually a really good thing. It's basically telling us like, hey, let's move forward, and we're going to do it in a really diligent way, so that whatever we create in this next year of the new moon in Aries, or this month of the new moon in Aries, you can look at it the month, you can look at it as 6 months until the full moon in Aries, or you can look at it as the next year until the next new moon in Aries. Whatever you're creating in this month, in this 6-month period, or in this year, you are going to do it with diligence and responsibility and patience, and a sense of hard work and doing it the right way. No cut corners, no rush. So that's the energy of the new moon, at least from my perspective. Shortly after the new moon, the moon will square rather, but not just Saturn, but also Pluto. And that's going to happen whenever the moon comes into Aries for the next couple of years, because we've got that Saturn-Pluto conjunction, or moving toward conjunction, happening in Capricorn all this year and all next year. And by year, I mean the regular, calendar year of 2019 and 2020. So we're always going to have this conflict, but this is also a conflict between Aries and Capricorn. This conflict is also going to be something that helps us build something that lasts. It's going to be a conflict, a catalyst for building something that is real and isn't built on sand. It's built on hard rock. Capricorn rules rock. It rules buildings. It rules architecture, structure. So that's on Friday. We've got the new moon squaring that Capricorn stuff, so it'll be interesting. It might not feel super light. It will feel motivating, but it might not feel super light and fun. The day of Saturn, Saturday, the moon will conjunct Uranus and Taurus. So this is really interesting. This is going to happen again and again every month when the moon comes to Aries and then comes to Taurus right after. The moon is going to square the Saturn and Pluto and Capricorn, and then it's going to conjunct Uranus and Taurus. And Uranus is the planet of surprises and unexpected occurrences, revolution, freedom, and innovation. And Uranus is in Taurus, and it just started its journey there. We talked a little bit about that a couple weeks ago. So I think this Uranus and Taurus, the moon coming to it and giving it a little, just tuning our emotions into that Uranus and Taurus each month is really, really interesting, because we are going to see how this plays out over the next 8 years. And whenever Uranus comes into a sign, it stays for about 8 years. And so we are going to have some aspect of our life revolutionized. And right now you can check out where your chart is, and you can check out your chart and see where Taurus lands. And that is the part of your chart that is being completely revolutionized. And so I think it's really interesting that the moon asks us to tap into that each month. So check out where it is in your chart. I think that for this week, the Friday is going to feel like a fresh start, but with a lot of responsibility. And then Saturn is going to feel like, let's get down to work, even though it's the weekend. Taurus loves to dig in. It's a fixed earth sign, so it really loves to dig in, and whether it is lounging on the couch, or working in the yard, or doing some work on the weekends, catching up on the taxes if you haven't done them yet. Whatever Taurus sets its mind to do, it does with complete commitment. So whatever you choose to do this weekend, just know that you are going to be completely committed to it, and you're going to really dig in and get it done. So that is pretty much the forecast for the week. My main message for this week, with this new moon on Friday, is set an intention that has to do very much with what you want to create in your life in the next month, 6 months, or year. And be mindful of how that intention impacts the other people in your life. Because with this new moon squaring Saturn, it is, whatever your intention is, it's not only going to impact you, it's also going to impact your community, your family, the people around you. So be really mindful with that energy as you move forward. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments here. You can DM me over here on Instagram. I would also like to tell you that, as I mentioned before, my friend Veronica Grant is a Capricorn. I'm an Aries. We are born leaders. We're pretty intense, both of us. We are pairing up to do a one-day retreat here in New York City where I live. It's going to be June 1st. And on the retreat, you are going to delve into all the aspects of your love life. So whether you are single, married, dating, in a long-term relationship, just got out of a relationship, whatever your dating status is, your love status is, you're going to get a lot out of the workshop because it's going to we're going to look at your chart. And Veronica is a life coach who specializes in dating and relationships. And so basically we're going to sit down, look at your chart, and figure out where your blocks are. Where are you blocking yourself from receiving and giving? Because, you know, everything is a two-way street. Receiving and giving the love that you want, that will fulfill you. And I'm really, really, really excited to do this retreat because I think that the most important thing when you are in a relationship or seeking to be in a relationship is really being knowledgeable about your own self first and your love language. And that's why we are calling it your Cosmic Love Language one-day retreat. You can sign up with the link. I'm going to include it here on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, you can go to my bio and click the link and then go to your Cosmic Love Language retreat. If you have any questions about that, let me know. And as always, if you would like to do a reading, if you haven't ever looked at your natal chart, that is the best way to start with astrology. If you are interested in taking action on your chart, you know, this is definitely the best way to do it. Just sitting down with me one-on-one and diving into the nitty-gritty. And we really break out not only, you know, your love language, but also your work language, and also, you know, how you take care of yourself and how you take care of others and all of those things. So the chart really gives you a roadmap to understanding yourself on the deepest level. And then you can take action on those things that we learn together. So if you'd like to schedule one of those, just send me a note here or here. You can also go to my website, veronicapreti.com, and I would love to fit you in. I only have a couple of April spots left, and then I've got about 8 spots left for May, okay? So I will talk to you soon. I'll be back next week, and have an awesome week, guys.